Hey guys, this is Josh Pete, OKUSA Wrestling with Steve Schmidt, and today we want to do another interview and obviously learn a little bit more about Steve. If you guys have been in with the OKUSA and Oklahoma Wrestling, then you know Steve Schmidt. Wrestled Oklahoma State and did some big things there as well. So, and then we'll talk a little bit about the OKUSA this golf tournament we've got going on and. We have some links at the OKUSA Facebook page where there's a little bit of a competition going between OU, OSU, OCU, and UCO. So today we've got our first Oklahoma State guy on. And so, Steve, I appreciate you coming on.
All right. No, thank you for having me.
Well, cool. Well, let's talk about a little bit where it all started for you. I mean, how you got started in wrestling and then kind of go on into high school and then talk about college. Had some big matches in college, I remember. So how did it get started for you? Like, how'd you get started in wrestling?
Well, I've wrestled since I can remember in one sense, but it started here at Tuttle. My dad had wrestled just a little bit in high school, so I don't remember consciously, wanting to wrestle. I think flyers went out in the local youth in the school. And maybe I brought one home. Tuttle was a brand new program for me. I was early. We didn't have a program. Mike London brought it here. I think he's like the godfather of Tuttle wrestling. He started the youth program. His son was Trent London. A lot of people will know Trent. Trent's currently officiating. Has done a lot. No, his whole family has started Tuttle wrestling, and so it started for me. I don't know, just as soon as I remember. I was 5 and turned 6, so I started fairly early. We started in an old all-purpose room in the school. I think they had to roll out wrestling mats every time we practiced.
Oh yeah.
So I started fairly young, I think, and
did you have a lot of success from the very beginning, or did it take a while to have the success? I mean, when did you start seeing it kind of come together a little bit?
It was both. I didn't have a lot of success in the very beginning. I was told by my father, he just said, it's okay to lose. Just don't smile when you're doing it. I think the first year I had no idea what was going on. Mm-hmm. And I was told, by the end of the first season, I just kind of clicked and learned to like it. And I don't remember, that's long ago enough. I'm old enough that I don't remember the separation between my first year and second year and things of that nature. But then I just became a wrestler right away. And I was around a lot of great people. We had a lot of, our community from the beginning. I was around great families. We had half of my youth was revolved around wrestling. Yep. And my friends were wrestlers and friends of families, and we did lake trips and fishing trips and family get-togethers. And so it all kind of combines into just a long stream of memories having to do with wrestling. And so as I grew up in it, we just competed on a bigger and bigger level.
So when did you start? Did you guys, I mean, back when you were wrestling, I know things have changed a little bit because we have so much access to the internet with Flow and Track. And
yeah,
were you guys traveling out of state quite a bit? Once you start hitting junior high school, were you guys starting to travel a little bit?
My group and my not yet. Coach Henning, a lot of people in this broadcast will know Coach Henning. Man, he built our tradition as far as our school foundation. And he did take a lot of teams. He took some overseas and brought some exchange teams in to Tuttle a little bit later than my time. When at my time, he was still building kind of the foundation of that competitive level. So there were, as I got older in youth wrestling, we took part in the freestyle programs, OCAC, and that later became USA Wrestling. And we traveled to Indiana for AAU Nationals. And so just a small core group of us, Shane and Jeremy Head, Trent London, Ryan Martin, early wrestlers in the Tuttle program. And we kind of just traveled and did extra. So we went to camps. Mike and Greg Henning, especially, they brought guys into us in our early wrestling rooms. We had Johnny Johnson and Lanny Davis. We saw the Schultz brothers actually come to do some small practices in our little wrestling room in the beginning. So we got a lot of advanced exposure just because of our community support. Our parents would seek these people out, these technicians come in and expose us to technique.
Yeah. Well, that's what, we're starting to see. Obviously we see more and more of that now, I think Zach's done a great job with OKUSA Wrestling. And I think the opportunity, obviously this year, maybe the opportunities aren't there, obviously because of COVID, but in the past few years, our kids have, schoolboy duels and cadet duels, junior duels. I remember I coached with you here in Tulsa at one of these little duels that we had. That was kind of fun. That was the Southern Plains.
Southern Plains, yeah.
Yeah. So, we're starting to see quite a few more opportunities. And now I guess right now there's some duels happening in PA in some places that they're, I think everybody's anxious, to get back on the mat right now. And I guess we can talk about that here in a minute. What about junior high and high school? You went to Tuttle High School. How'd the high school career go?
It went pretty well for me. I had grown up through our youth program, and I think being pretty successful in the youth room, and I was around, had some older mentors just in our program, some guys that were just tough, and Trent and, my friends and Scotty Kaler and just names. So there was already, even in the beginning of our program, we kind of had an expectation built around us. We had friends through the freestyle programs, people that we hung out with. And so I think just seeing a lot of success kind of built that expectation. And so junior high went pretty well. At that time, there wasn't maybe the same level of competition in the smaller schools that we can see today. So the small school programs were pretty easy for a guy who had wrestled, outside of the local town and being around the guys that I were. And so, bounced through junior high and just a lot of good memories there. And then went on to high school. Had a disappointing loss as a freshman in high school. At that time, 4-time state champions were rare. I remember seeing Todd Chesbro being in Gallagher Iba Arena when I was young and seeing Todd Chesbro get that 4th title. And that was so amazing to me. But I came up short as a freshman and then won three state titles at our program and ended up at Oklahoma State.
So how did the recruiting process, was it pretty much the same back then as it is today? 3-time state champ from Oklahoma. I'm sure you had some schools looking at you. So what made you think Oklahoma State, that for sure this is where I'm going?
Right. Well, I personally, I did look at some other schools. I had a lot of friends and there were, some attraction to other things, but I think in my heart, I was always a Cowboy, and in part because of Tommy Chesbro wrestling camps. I grew up in the summertime. I don't know how many camps or how often I went to summer camp in Stillwater, but, me and a couple of the friends that I had, we would go stay in the dorms and participate in Oklahoma State wrestling camp and the summer camps. I met Chesbro. I remember, Ricky Stewart, Mike Sheets and a lot of those guys we got early exposure to. And so it was just kind of adopted into my mentality at that point. So I don't think I was like a, ASICS All-American type on the poster guy for recruiting. I think I got a name wrestling a little bit nationally for a small, successful program. But I ended up getting to talk to John, and of course, Mark Perry was becoming involved right at that time in their transition to John's status there.
Well, you talk about Todd Chesbro. He's a special guy. He was Rhett's first coach. We were blessed to get him right out of the gate. And I'm talking technically. I mean, he is so sound. He is so sound technically. He was a good coach. He still is a good coach. And special guy. Sean Bateman. Do you see that comment that he's got on?
I forgot to read comments.
Yeah, to Marlo Outlaw, he said, "I must say, you got a little lucky." Sean's a good guy.
Oh yeah.
So I remember I wanted to talk. I remember thinking about interviewing you today. And so what I remember when I was in high school, when you were wrestling college. So the matches I remember obviously the most are the Ironside Schmidt matches.
Oh no. Yeah.
Talk about some of that rivalry. Those were some cool matches, man. It's matches like that, as a high schooler, you're like, okay, I know there's another level.
Yeah.
And to reach that level for those two guys, it's almost like, how do you reach that? I mean, you guys have put on some barn burners, man.
Well, I don't remember that fondly. If anybody knew the history, I didn't beat Ironside.
Yeah.
I think I led many of our matches, expected to beat him, and ended up, without a hand raised. And so that as a wrestler and as a competitor, that still kind of burns,
Yeah.
So, I got one, our head coach of the youth program, Josh Bryant, he likes to rib me a little bit about it, but, so I kind of lost sight of your question, but about rivalry.
Yeah, it was just special. Those were some, for me anyway. I mean, maybe I know there's tough matches for you, but those were some, for a young guy watching those two matches, it kind of gives you a little bit of okay, that's what it's going to have to take.
Well, it's hard to do this for an Iowa guy and my rival, right? But Ironside, a great, just an incredible wrestler. He represented Iowa, and I was Oklahoma State, so we had OSU Iowa behind that competitive force when we were out there. And I wasn't a very emotional wrestler, but you can feel it in those big matches. And at the time and in the moment, I think a lot of wrestlers are like this. I didn't really think of those things so much. I would feel the nerves and the hype, I guess. But for me, it was just, I got to win this wrestling match. I didn't think about the depth of what it could mean. And then, being on the losing side several times, it just intensified your training and your drive, to overcome the obstacles.
Yeah. So I remember you wrestled 134 every year, except you went to 40. Did you go to 42 your senior year? Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. I did. And my senior year was the year they added 7 to the weight classes. So I racked 49 pounder.
Yeah.
I think they, but we called it 142, changed the weigh-in rules that year. I don't know if there's a specific question about it, but yeah, I 34 was hard to make. I was never a big guy, I don't think, or big and muscular, but it was a grind. As every wrestler knows, making weight every week and training and trying to be on top of everything. And so it felt good to move up. And I think, I felt a little more powerful late in the year. I didn't wear down. So
yeah, that's what I was going to say. Did they feel stronger at 49, I guess, than at 33, or did you make that, or 34? Did you make that jump? I mean, did it was it a pretty easy transition into going up a weight class, or was there a little bit of a struggle?
No, I don't recall specifically thinking about it, but no, I don't remember there being a real struggle. I was a lean guy, not a muscular guy, but I'd put on weight and bulked up a little bit that summer. And so I think just having, better nutrition, that was you remember that was at a time that we didn't have the levels of nutrition that the kids have now. I mean, we had Med-Rex bars, but
yeah,
a little bit of that was new, good nutritional programs. And so a long college season was wear and tear.
Oh yeah.
So that's where I think I made the most difference, is at the end of the year, I felt as good as I did, in the beginning of the year. Yeah.
Do you think we're going to see more of that? I mean, we see so much weight cutting. I mean, my first year in college was whenever it was still 18, 26, 34. And then they made the 7-pound jump, which I was like, thank goodness, man, because I was having such a hard time making 26. And then even 33 was tough. But then it went to a one hour before the duel, 2 hours to a tournament.
Right.
Do you see an advantage, I guess? I mean, are you seeing still a ton of weight cutting, or do you think there's an advantage of staying within say 4 or 5 pounds recovery when it comes to recovery? I mean, do you see there being an advantage or not?
I think it's different at each level. I hate to see a lot of weight cutting in youth. Because you want those kids to have a love for the sport and the competition, but you don't want them to be grinding it out.
Yeah.
That early. Now, discipline and weight management is different than weight cutting, and then, you move to the high school level, and sometimes that's for, putting together a good team. Some kids make sacrifices, to stay at a lower weight so that they can assemble a complete team. And that's where you get the team motivation, and they learn how to be a team player. So although weight cutting is a negative term in a lot of this, in a lot of ways. And it depends, I think, but that's when they're old enough to learn how maybe to do it properly. So as they mature, there's a lot more information available.
Yeah.
And I think, athletes moving into the college level, I don't know. I mean, I'm not that integrated into their training. I'm a fan of the college level, and so I don't know how hard they are, working to maintain that weight. It's a little bit different rules. They have a lot better understanding of nutrition. I mean, even at the high school level, guys go into college. I think freshmen in college don't look a lot different than a lot of seniors in high school.
Yeah.
Where when I was young, it was an obvious difference.
Oh yeah.
So kids are better built. They're already lean in high school. There were a lot of kids lean. So I think, I think technically wrestling has advanced so much that maybe I hope to say it takes a little bit of the weight cutting out of it at the upper levels. But, that's still part of competition.
It is.
Lean and mean, and so it's never going to go away.
I don't think it will either. I don't know how you would take it away. It's kind of built into our wrestling DNA at this point, But like you said, I think that with the nutrition, it makes it at least a little bit better. I mean, we're getting smarter on our nutrition. So I think the recovery is always the key. But well, let's talk about Tuttle a little bit.
Okay.
Built about a huge powerhouse there. And so, I mean, this year is going to maybe be a little bit different because of COVID. So I don't know what we're going to get. I don't think anybody knows what the season's going to look like. Everybody I've had on here so far, I'm like, what do you see the season looking like? And there's really no definitives, on what's going to happen. But I mean, how do you see it kind of playing out a little bit? And then on Tuttle, does it look like just another powerhouse year for you guys?
Well, I'd like to think so. On the COVID, that's hard to talk about, and that's probably been covered. So
yeah.
I just have hope for the best. that we get out there and we can participate and compete safely, and everybody can be comfortable moving on. And I hope that happens. We're going to find out pretty soon.
Yeah.
As for our guys, we've built a tradition, and they're going to be strong, hard to beat. I think a lot of, what I grew up with that helped me was an expectation around me. And I think this program has an expectation that's at a high level. So all of our guys know they know what to train for. They know what to expect. We have, alumni guys, coming back and working out. We have a long list of, guys that are in college wrestling right now that they'll be back through the room. And so, they know as a small school, they know, and we're going to travel to compete. And so they expect, our expectation now has become, we want to be recognized nationally, not just, in our class, in our state.
So do you think, I mean, when you see the Tuttles, the Broken Arrows, the teams that consistently are good, do you think a lot of that has to do with a strong feeder? I mean, obviously tradition, but a feeder program, like a strong, youth feeder program. How important is that to have a good junior high and high school team?
Right.
It's got to be huge.
I think it's huge. Yeah. It's amazing here what we have at Tuttle, because we have, from the bottom to the top. We have a wrestling community. We have a great little league program, and tons of families and tons of help. We have a lot of great volunteer youth coaches.
Yeah.
And as you go, as I travel, and not everybody has that. The access to people who know how to coach wrestling, and so. We're very fortunate just from the bottom to the top, and have built that community.
So are you still coaching from the little league level, or have you, I mean, I know your son's wrestling, high school now. So then obviously are you helping at all levels, or kind of where's your role?
Right. Well, again, that's where we have a great community. I'm not the coach here. Right. Yep. I've had a lot of success in my career and a lot of experience, and it's not I can't go into the high school room and just contribute.
Yeah.
I mean, I contribute. I'm another body. I'm a helper. I can do things the way I do, and show some stuff, but nobody's missing me.
Yeah.
They're getting high level tech, and same in the youth room. We have coaches and college All-Americans coaching our youth, So Josh Bryant, we have a head coach. We have lots of coaching experience through all of our guys. And so we spend a lot of time maybe talking about wrestling and theories on how to get the best experience in our youth. But there's no lack of experience giving them technique.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I remember when I wrestled back in Collinsville, we had a strong youth league. I mean, a youth program. Mm-hmm. And you always met Sperry, Oklahoma. Sperry had one. So you had all these small towns. They all had just little powerhouse, youth programs, and you could always see it play out once everybody got to high school. Yeah. And so Tuttle, you guys have always been known to have a good youth league. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think it may be more difficult at a larger school, because we have one program from bottom to top a little bit, Yeah. And so, a Broken Arrow, it's not all one little league coming into your room. And right. So there's a little bit, of, I don't know, just some transitional things. Mm-hmm. Whereas, in our youth room, Coach Server, our head coach for, number of years, Coach Williams is now our head coach. They'll be in our youth room on occasion. And so, my part in that is, I hope as I've gotten older is to help try to direct and try to focus on the things that we need to do to keep that, in place,
Right.
to keep a full program. And then of course my son is in high school, and so I want to go work out with him and pop in the high school room and then bounce a little bit back and forth.
Sure. Well, let's talk about the this golf this golf thing we have going on, where it's a fundraiser, and like I said before, we have OSU, OU, UCO, OCU, and OSU's. Well, it was leading. I know that the last time we checked. So, how important is it for people to get involved in this fundraising effort? And I mean, obviously, it helps our kids going to Fargo and on
Right.
these field trips. So we know that that's important. But what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm excited to have the golf tournament because I don't think a big social guy or social media maybe, but when we get together, wrestling community on a broader community outside of the wrestling room, it gives you the chance to hang out with, on a coaching level. I'm usually across from this guy yelling at, in opposition to him, or, so it gives you, now you get to share wrestling as a common ground and not just a competitive nature. And you get to share that and some good times. So the golf outing, I'm excited about doing and seeing everybody. And then, OKUSA building the broader community around fundraising and a common goal, and talking about that goal and being able to share it, I think motivates people to know, who all is on the same page and what we're doing.
And so we don't have to, I mean, it's not a mystery who you're pushing, you're pulling for as who to donate to, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, we got to get some, I need to look at the donations and start making phone calls. Oklahoma State guys, we, reach into your digital wallet and send some money. Let's crack this open and spread a lead.
Well, before we get off here, let's talk about the job Zach's done, and with OKU, it looks like it. I mean, we're streamlined pretty good from bottom to top. As a state, I think we've talked about it before. From I would say 13 to 18 years old is maybe one of the most special groups we've had. I mean, as far as depth goes and talent, we're loaded at almost at every weight, from schoolboy duels, cadet duels, junior duels. It's a special time right now, I think.
Right. Yeah. No, it's exciting. I grew up, I'm, the same generation as Zach. And so now that we are trying to take what's been given and give back and direct that. And, Zach has tons of experience. I mean, he's grown up around wrestling, around successful programs, around his father building successful programs, around administration of wrestling. And so he's kind of queued up at all levels to be able to lead us. And so, we'll set the expectations high for him as well.
Yeah. Well, Steve, I appreciate you coming on. Is there anything else that you want to say before we close this thing off? And I'm glad you got to come on.
No, just thanks wrestling wise to my family that raised me, my wife, that, still is around, my wrestling habit and hobby.
Yep.
All of the Tuttle community is just incredible. Our youth board and our booster club at all levels. So, and the greater Oklahoma wrestling community, it's fun, sometimes just to walk around tournaments and, we know so many people that are involved with the sport, and there's so much level of respect and so thanks to everybody who's involved, and thanks for your time.
Well, I appreciate your time as well. And we had quite a few comments here, and so, but yeah, so if you're interested in the golf tournament, definitely go to our OKUSA page on Facebook here. It has a place where you can sign up, but also for the donation tabs, again, OSU, OU, UCO, OCU, just pick whatever group you want there and definitely donate. But today it's definitely we're pushing with Steve here at OSU. So
go folks.
That's it, man. Well, you have a good night, and I'll catch you in a little bit.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.